Howdy, folks. So, what we got here, when we get into chapter 12, chapter 12 is all about angle measurement. And the first thing they start talking about here is a circle. And the reason is because that's how we decide what angles are. It's really not that complicated, and I'm not gonna go too much into the trig, but I am. So yeah, what are they talking about? Well, what we have here is called a unit circle. Why is it called that? Well, first, a little bit of background. Remember when we were talking about our shapes on the first day, and we decided that if the diameter of a circle was 1, then its circumference would be 3.141592653 blah 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 pi, right? Well, there's different ways of measuring an angle. One of those ways is in radians. What is a radian, Mr. Blue? I'm glad you asked. A radian is a radius placed on this circle. What do I mean? I mean this. We said that the diameter was 1, then the circumference must be pi. In this case, the diameter is 2 because the radius is 1. Now, when you have a circle whose radius is 1, it is called the unit circle, right? Okay, so this unit circle with a diameter of 2, but a radius of 1, well, if the diameter was 1 and the circumference is pi, we make the diameter 2. What does that do to the circumference? It doubles it, and it makes it 2 pi. Does that make sense? So if I have a whole circle and I split it in half, I open this angle up only by half, I'm going to have 180 degrees or pi radians. Does that make sense? So therefore, this must be 2 pi. Pi, 2 pi. Makes sense so far. Does it? Let's see. So, what does this mean for us? Well, if this is 2 pi or 0, this is pi, this is half of that. So it must be pi over 2. So what's this? This is pi over 4 because it's half of that. And they also break it in thirds. Well, how about that? That's what radians are all about. Rather than measure the angle, this angle is 30 degrees, we can also decide how far along this unit circle that angle opens up to. And that is what radians are all about. If it opens up a quarter of the way, that is pi over 2 radians. If it opens up halfway, that's pi radians. If it opened up all the way, it's 2 pi radians. And it doesn't matter how big big or small the circle is. This 30-degree angle is still 30 degrees no matter how far it goes. Doesn't matter. What are these coordinates out here, Mr. Blue? Exactly that, coordinates. It's another way to describe an angle, actually. What do you mean? Well, I mean this. Since this is a unit circle, it's on a graph. And the graph center point is 0, 0 right here. 1 is the y coordinate of this point. But 0 is the x coordinate of this point. We can call 1 sine. We can call 0 cosine. We can do that for any of these. We can call square root of 3 over 2 the sine of 60 degrees. This is a 60-degree angle. The y-coordinate of this point is the square root of 3 over 2. The x-coordinate of this point is 1/2. It is exactly 1/2 the distance from here to here. That's how we know the x-coordinate of this triangle, this distance right here, is 1/2. Therefore, the cosine of 60 degrees is 1/2. The sine of 60 degrees is square root of 3 over 2. That's this distance from here to here. You can describe an angle by the coordinates, or you can describe an angle by the degrees, or you can describe an angle in radians. So in the next video, we'll do some practice and we'll decide if Pythagoras invented anything. I find it hard to believe, though. Anyways.